question. That moment is coming for you, and it is coming for me, and nothing either of us does will stop it. But here is the strange gift hidden inside that terror. The people who have looked at death the closest, who have stared directly into it instead of flinching away, are the same people who learned, finally, how to live. 2,000 years ago, a small group of thinkers in Greece and Rome built a way of seeing the world so sharp, so unsentimental, that emperors, slaves, generals, and prisoners all reached for it in their darkest hour. They called it Stoicism. It was not a philosophy for comfortable afternoons or quiet libraries. It was built in plagues, in exile, in chains, in war, on battlefields, and in prison cells, by people who had every reason to give up and refused. And it survives today because it was never about ideas for their own sake. It was a weapon for living, forged by people who had nothing left to lose and everything left to prove. Think about that for a moment. The men who built this way of thinking were not comfortable academics, theorizing from a distance about suffering they had never touched. One had been a slave whose leg was broken by his own master. One buried nearly every child he ever had. One was exiled from everything he loved, twice, and rebuilt his life from nothing both times. They did not write about resilience because it sounded impressive. They wrote about it because it was the only thing standing between them and total collapse, and it worked. If you are watching this because something in your life feels unbearable right now, a loss, a failure, a fear you cannot name, a version of yourself you no longer recognize in the mirror, you are exactly who this was written for. What follows are 10 lessons drawn from that ancient weapon, tested by people who had far less room for error than you do right now. They are not comfortable. Some of them will feel like a hand closing around your throat before it lets you breathe again. But if you let them in, if you actually let them change how you see your one and only life, you will walk away from this video a different person than the one who pressed play. Lesson 1. The rope that isn't yours to pull. Picture a lighthouse keeper standing on a cliff during the worst storm of the year. Ships are being thrown around like driftwood. Somewhere out there, sailors are screaming into wind that swallows every sound before it can travel more than a few feet. The keeper cannot calm the sea. He cannot reverse the wind. He cannot reach into the black water and pull a single one of those drowning men out with his bare hands. All he can do, the only thing he has ever been able to do, is keep his light burning steady so that whoever survives the night has something fixed and reliable to steer toward. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the storm instead of tending their own light. They rage at traffic that does not know or care that they exist. They replay arguments with people who have already forgotten the conversation entirely. They lie awake at 3 a.m, rewriting a past that will not be rewritten no matter how many times they run the tape. Epictetus, a man who spent years in chains before he ever spent a single day free, built his entire teaching on one brutal, clarifying distinction. Some things are within your power, and everything else is not. And confusing the two is the root of nearly every unnecessary suffering you have ever felt in your life. Your reputation is not yours. Other people's opinions of you are not yours. The outcome of your effort, the result at the end of the road, is not yours either. What is yours is smaller than you think and infinitely more powerful than you realize. Your judgments, your choices, your effort in this exact moment right now as you listen to this sentence, that is the whole territory you actually govern, and it is enough, because it was always the only thing that was ever going to determine whether you suffered or whether you rose above it. Think about how much of your day gets swallowed by things you cannot touch. The comments section under a post you should have never read.
Now we got to go help people customize and say
the promotion someone else got for reasons that had nothing to do with your worth, the weather on the one day you needed sun. None of it moves an inch no matter how hard you grip it, and every second spent gripping it is a second stolen from the light you were actually put here to keep burning for someone who needs to see it. This is not resignation, and it is not giving up, no matter how much it might sound that way at first. It is the opposite. It is realizing that your energy is finite and precious, that you will never get today back once it has passed, and every ounce you spend on the uncontrollable is an ounce you cannot spend building the one thing that was always within your reach: yourself, your character, your response to whatever the world decides to throw next. There is an old exercise worth trying the very next time you feel your grip tightening around something outside your control. Ask yourself a single question, out loud if you have to. Is this thing in front of me something I can act on directly, right now, with my own two hands? Or is it something I can only watch and hope about? If it is the second kind, the grip you are holding is not protecting you from anything. It is only exhausting you for no return at all, hour after hour, day after day, while the actual work of your life sits untouched, waiting for the attention you keep spending elsewhere. There is a second, quieter part of this lesson that most people miss entirely. Once you stop fighting the sea, you are left with an uncomfortable amount of silence, because you no longer have the storm to blame for your unhappiness. That silence is not empty. It is the space where responsibility finally lives, uncontested, waiting for you to pick it up. Most people avoid that silence for years because blaming the storm is easier than tending the light. But the keeper who finally stops blaming the wind is the only keeper whose light ever actually saves anyone. Lesson 2. The verdict you signed without a trial. Imagine a woodcutter walking past the same bent, twisted tree every single day for years on his way into the forest. Everyone in the village calls it the ugly tree, the failed tree, the tree that grew wrong from the very beginning. Then one winter, a storm flattens every straight, proud tree in the forest, snapping them clean at the trunk in a single violent night. The bent tree is the only one still standing in the morning because its very deformity had quietly taught it, year after year, how to bend without ever breaking. Nothing about the tree itself changed that winter. Only the judgment placed on it changed, and with it, everything about how the tree was finally seen. This is the second brutal insight the Stoics handed down to us across 2,000 years. It is never the event itself that wounds you. It is the verdict you pass on the event, usually within a fraction of a second, usually without a trial, without evidence, without any real chance of appeal. Someone cancels plans, and you rule, silently and instantly, that you are unwanted. You lose a job and you rule just as fast that you are worthless. The event happened out there, in the world. The wound happened in here, in your own private courtroom, and you were the one holding the gavel the entire time. This single realization that our reactions are opinions and not facts would later become the seed of an entire branch of modern psychology built on retraining exactly this kind of automatic, punishing self-verdict. But long before any modern science proved it in the laboratory, Stoic teachers were telling their students the same thing in the middle of a plague-ridden, war-torn world with none of our modern comforts. Strip away your opinion about what happened to you, they said, and examine what is actually left underneath it. Usually, what is left is far smaller and far more survivable than the story you built around it in the space of a single panicked heartbeat. You are not required to believe every verdict you find hands down the instant something goes wrong. You are allowed to repeat. You are allowed to ask, is masters of this familiar game. One mind knows how to suffer, because it has practiced suffering its exact 1,000 times before. The people who master this question stop being victims of their own fates and start becoming judges of them instead, which is a fundamentally different way to move through a single day on this earth, and it changes everything.